Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a chance to stretch around, grab coffee. Eventually, I didn't have enough coffee, I guess, and a pen and a notepad, as the next session is going deep dive into Gen AI for Gov agencies. Please welcome Sach Chaudhary on the stage. Welcome, Sach.
Thank you.
Sach Chaudhary is nice to see you again. Sach Chaudhary is a distinguished thought leader, technologist, and a business strategist. A Harvard Business School alumnus, Sach founded the Paradiso group of companies and 2 AI startups as well, securing 11 software technology patents. As a FOPE Council member and AI consultant, Sach has driven innovation across diverse industries, notably developing Paradiso LMS and CogniSpark AI. We're very happy to have you here, Sach.
Thank you, Pratik. Let's jump into it. Let me see if we can.
Yes.
Let me know.
Stage is all yours.
Thank you, Pratik. Can you see the slides? You can, right? Okay. All right. So, as Pratik gave a little intro, but I want to a little bit elaborate on a little bit about me, so you understand where some of my concepts and applications are coming from, my background. So I worked in Silicon Valley for a bunch of different startups. Some of them were in AI space, then went back to school, and then founded Paradiso IT Consulting and Paradiso Learning, 2 different companies. Also, I co-founded CogniSpark AI and Indra AI. So a lot of the things I'm going to talk about today, the practical applications and the challenges and the process, have really came from my experiences working with hundreds of clients and also building my own AI products. I also do angel investing, mostly in AI space, so that gives me an insight into what's coming next. I'm releasing a new book called AI Navigator next week. It's for leaders to leverage AI to accelerate the growth. And I have consulted over 1,000 companies in my last 2 decades of IT consulting career. Having said that, this is the agenda for today. We're going to talk about a framework I have developed called AI Navigator Framework, which helps you go from chaos to clarity in deploying Gen AI applications. We'll go over anywhere between 7 to 12 use cases, depending on the time, on practical use cases, case studies where Gen AI has been deployed, and I'll try to give you a variety of different sectors, from healthcare all the way to tourism and public safety, and also different use cases all the way from chatbot to document processing and facial recognition. We'll talk about the AI governance and what the next steps are for you to take as you embark on this Gen AI exciting journey. So all of this started a couple of years ago when I was visiting one of my friend back from Harvard Business School in Africa. He was doing fundraising for different NGOs. He was helping US funders to fund NGOs in Africa. And while we were visiting one of the villages, we saw an older lady in excruciating pain, and she was selling some fruits on the street to make money. But she was, while we were talking to her, in between, she was having a lot of pain in her chest. And so my friend who speak the local language, asked her, and she said, I wanted to go to a doctor, but going to a doctor means to 1 day journey, going to the city, coming back here, and that means 2 days of wage losses, and then food and where I'm going to stay there overnight, and in a lot of those issues. And she was basically avoiding. And she didn't really have a way to get healthcare access in that particular village, because the kind of conditions she had, it needed X-ray, probably MRI, to be able to diagnose it. And later on, my friend found out that she actually died with lung cancer. And over the years, we talked about this scenario, and the story always stuck in back of my mind, that how can we have healthcare which is affordable and accessible within the US, in Canada, and pretty much all over the world with the technology. So fast forward many years, now in that particular village, they have these vans, and that vans have X-ray fitted in there. They don't have any doctors still, radiologist, or even non-specialist doctors in that village. But what do they have is these vans which go from villages to villages, and they collect the x-rays, and as soon as they get the satellite internet connection, all of these x-rays get uploaded to a control station in the which goes to the cloud. And in the cloud there is sitting an AI algorithm which is checking this x-ray and figuring it out whether it's a cancer, is it infection. There are about 71 different anomalies the AI can detect, and really give access to the radiologists in the village, where they didn't even have any of these facilities, and it's ending up saving thousands of lives without having to send radiologists to all those villages. So that was my kind of journey, which got me into AI, and I've been obsessed with this field for many, many years. And a lot of my work now from last 3 years have been deploying Gen AI applications in NGOs, in public sector, in private sector, across the globe, mostly in US, but also in India, in Middle East, and in Africa. So while talking to leaders, whether they are head of national security, or somebody who's doing public safety, or immigration, or a private sector, somebody insurance company, what I realized that there is two, either the leaders after the whole ChatGPT hype, they are either feeling confused, scared, or greedy. Greedy in the sense that they think now AI can immediately transform their organization, and they just want to jump. So in short, there is a lot of chaos. There is a lot of misunderstandings about data privacy. There are a lot of fear about what is going to happen to their market, their jobs, their kids, and their future. So I took all the learnings I had and created a framework called AI Navigator Framework. It's a 6-step process which takes you from chaos to clarity and gives some structure to this unknown area where we all are heading, because every month, it used to be, now every week there is a new AI innovation coming out. So there is lot of chaos in the technology field, but that doesn't have to translate into the implementation world. So this framework kind of gets you step by step for you to lead your organization from bottom up, from top down. So the first step is in this framework is educate, right? And to understand at least the basics, even if you're not technical, to understand what is the large language model, how does it get trained. Some basics are needed for you to understand, because it's not something like a ERP or a cloud like Amazon Cloud or Google. Once you deploy, next 5 years, you're not going to change that technology much. With AI, it is almost like changing tires while you're on the road, because every 6 months or a year, new innovation is going to come, and you will be able to assess the degree of impact of that innovation if you understand at least the tech basics. And it goes all the way from basic understanding. So this is the upskilling framework, to applying those concepts, building models, improving those models, and advanced specialization depending on where you fall. But at least the basic understanding is the number one step. So what we do at Paradiso, many times we get the leaders in one room for a half a day workshop or 1 day workshop, and we start out with educating the basics, and then we'd head out to the second step, which is elevate. See, if we try to fit in the new paradigm, new technology in the old processes or old context, it's going to fail, right? So you need to see how this is going to impact your particular service which you're providing to the public, your particular industry, whether it's public safety, it is healthcare, is it education. So you need to be able to see in the future, if it's education, how AI tutor, where they are heading. So really elevate your thinking, think big, think the future, and kind of stretch your imagination to see what's possible out there. Because you'll be surprised that the things we were not possible a year ago or 2 years ago, or which were 100x expensive, now can be done in minutes for a fraction of dollars. I mean, you're all seeing the power of ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is just the beginning. There's a lot more you can do, but you have to have that imagination to be able to think big. So the second thing we do in the workshop is really brainstorm and do scenario play. Like, what if robots are teaching in the classroom? What if AI radiologist is handling 99% of the cases? What happens to the entire process, entire healthcare system? So really brainstorm in a safe environment, and that's elevate. Third thing, you want to go from brainstorming to explore. So you jot down the top 2 or 3 ideas out of all your brainstorming ideas, which we want to target. What are the couple of pilot projects we want to run in our agency? Narrow those down. Otherwise, it will just be a talk and it will just be a play. And that's where a lot of the public service agencies or private companies are, that like somebody in the organization is tinkering with ChatGPT or some other tools, and it hasn't really come and made a huge impact. So it has stayed at the hype or a shiny toy level. But if you are systematic about it, to see what different pilot project we really want to take, what are the big shots we want to take, which is going to transform, which is going to impact our particular service, our particular people, the demographic we serve, and go after those in a pilot fashion. So that's the third step, to figure out which pilots we want to do, start those pilot projects. Fourth thing is engage with your legal team, the cross-functional, the top leadership, the cross-section, other agencies you are interfacing with. Build the AI ambassador, have the transparent communication about what you're doing, what are the risks, what are the benefits, why we're doing it, how can we have a feedback loop. So really engage in the project. So that's the fourth step. And in the engagement, you are actually running the pilot at this stage. You have hired external IT services company or internal staff, and you have done some document automation using AI, you've done image processing, or you've done a chatbot. That's the easiest thing to do, or application, whatever you have done, the pilot projects, you have decided 1 or 2, you have actually implemented them. You are trying to get the feedback, what's working, what's not working, in a safe environment, limited beta testing. So that's this step, engagement step. And the next step is expand. Out of 3 or 4 pilots you're going to do, 1 or 2 of those will be the big shots, right? Those are the one you see that you're getting the best feedback. It's saving time, it's improving productivity, it is reducing the response time to your customers, and you want to expand that from pilot to a really production ready application. And the last part is governance, and we're going to talk about that in the end. Like, how do you govern these applications which you're going to deploy in the cloud or in your private data center? How are you going to govern the data privacy, the ethics, and the legal risk? We're going to talk that a little bit later. But now let's jump into some real case studies of how agencies, public service agencies in US and also some other parts of the world are leveraging generative AI to transform their organization. So one of the first application is prediction and analytics, right? AI is really good at taking a huge amount of data. So one of the use cases is economic forecasting. Economic forecasting really drives many very crucial decisions for the government in terms of the infrastructure project, the public policies, the growth of the company, the expenditure. So it's been a challenge for decades. How do you do a proper economic forecast? So machine learning has been implemented in many agencies, including World Economic Forum, and many other agencies are using AI and machine learning to do a better prediction of where the economy is heading and at what speed. This is U.S. Student Aid has implemented this chatbot called AI Dan, which is really for the student loan and student aid. It is a typical, very powerful, low risk kind of application where you can see the impact right away. You should be able to implement one of these chatbots for your agency with your data in literally 4 to 8 weeks. So what we have done is in Paradiso, we have built a platform to make it easy, but there are many other platforms out there which can help you, no code platforms or low code platforms, which help you build this kind of chatbots. And it has served 2.4 million unique customers already. These were the customers who would have to wait for responses for weeks or wait on the chat or phone line for hours. Now they're getting the answers in minutes. And this chatbot has been fed all the different policies and documents which a support agent would know. And that's how it is able to understand your natural language, not only understand it, but actually help you solve your particular issue. And of course, there's always a triaging, the 5% of the people where the exception cases are, the chatbot is not able to answer, it will go to the human support agent. But imagine, right, the 90%, 95% of your workload going down. And most importantly, the response time to customers is going from days to minutes. That's huge. So almost every agency who is facing public should be looking at one of the chatbot applications in their pilots. Education and training has been hugely impacted. So if using AI, right? So we all know the teacher shortage, teacher time shortage, resources, funding. Those are all the issues. All the public schools, most public schools in US and many parts of the world are facing. So what AI is doing is helping generate lesson plans, right? So we have created a tool called CogniSpark. You just tell it a name of the course. Let's say basics of AI or basics of Python, and you go get a cup of coffee. When you come back 5 minutes later, the entire course, the e-learning course, with slides, with text, with voiceover, with images, with spokesperson videos, assessment, everything generated for you within 5 minutes. And it used to take about 4 to 6 weeks for us, for Paradiso Learning, to create these kind of courses for Education Institute in US, and we used to charge about $5,000 to $7,000. Now we are able to do it literally in $5 because of the power of AI. Now, of course, is this course perfect without any errors? No, but it has taken the teacher, the professor, from 0 to 80% of the way in 5 minutes. The last 20% editing, using our editor or whichever editor they choose, they can edit and make it to their liking and release the course within 48 hours as opposed to 6 or 8 weeks. So there will be abundance of lesson or content and videos and podcasts and for every topic imaginable. So we will have the days where the personalized education is possible for every student. The AI can generate assessments. It can do automatic grading. So many academies and training institutes are using AI now to grade the lesson plan, the essays, grade the answers, even if it's written using paper and pencil. You scan it and extract the data, and AI is able to grade. And in some ways it's better than some of the teachers, because every teacher is different. So there was an issue with consistency. The way you will grade the essay on US history, I will be different from my point of view, but AI can bring the consistency where it's not, sometimes it's not even possible with humans. In some ways AI is better than human, in some ways it's not. But the idea is not about human versus AI replacing human. It's how do we work together, how do we work together with AI as a friend, as a co-pilot, as our assistant, as an army of agents who are working under us. That's where we are today. It's, we are not where AI is running the world. So that's a topic for some other conversation. But right now, think of AI when you strategize how you're going to bring AI. Think of it as a buddy, as your assistant. Um, and I'll continue with education because it's a topic very dear to me. We have built Indra AI tutor. So this AI tutor, you will just talk to a human tutor in the language you want: Spanish, English, French, any other languages, and it will talk to you, and not only talk to you and explain you that concept. It's learning. Every time you ask it something, it's learning about you. It's understanding your voice tone. It's understanding, are you engaged, are you getting bored, are you getting impatient, and it's adjusting itself moment to moment, just like a GPS adjusts its path and gets you from your origin to your destination quickly and most efficiently. This is how the AI tutor works. Whatever topic you want to master at your level, there's no shame if you don't know the basics. A lot of the students are afraid to ask questions because their fundamentals are not clear, so they're afraid to ask those questions in a classroom. But with AI tutor, the AI tutor will not get tired while answering the same thing, explaining it in a different layers: the advanced, intermediate, beginning, novice, and just be there with you 24/7, 365 days a year. That doesn't replaces the school. The school is there for interaction, for social understanding, for understanding different ways of learning from people. But in terms of the content and content delivery, AI can really be a complement to our school system and help us solve some of the issues we are having in terms of the education in the US. So it can do a simulation for interviews. We have some private companies using our AI tutor platform to train their salespeople, and the salespeople talk to this AI, and the AI is able to evaluate their sales speech. So there's a simulation you can do. Some university students are using our platform to practice interviews in a simulated fashion. Many language institutes are using it for teaching Spanish or French. Now let's change the gears a little bit. Let's talk about document processing, right? So there's no government out there which doesn't have a lot of documents to process, and that's large work for government, whether it's immigration, whether it's public safety, whether it's CDC, or education department. There's a lot to process, from student application all the way to evaluation for your immigration papers. So these are many different ways we can reduce the load on the system. So one of the government healthcare company we worked with, who are serving the lower economic class of the society, they used to get thousands and thousands of paper application where they have to fill about their history, about their economic situation, their family, and based on that they will be evaluated for different programs. And they used to be able to, their team of 5 people used to be able to process maximum couple of hundred documents. Now we're able to process about 10,000 of those documents using the power of AI. We scan it, we extract the data using AI. We use that extracted data to feed into our machine learning model, which has been trained on 50,000 past application data from variety of ethnic groups, economic groups, different places in the city, and it can evaluate that application almost as good as the human. And that's the document classification, right? For a particular program A, it goes to this, program B, it goes to that. So data extraction, document classification. If there are some fields missing, we need to call the particular citizen to get some more data which was not filled in so the data validation will flag that out, that this particular application is incomplete. Data analysis, all of these document processing, there's a huge amount of scope, opportunity for public sector to automate a lot of these processes, so you can do the real work, which is solving the biggest pain points, figuring out policies, improving your communication with the citizens, getting back to them faster, right? All of those are opportunity for us to let AI do a lot of this work which can be automated and do meaningful work in the public sector. I'll change the gears a little bit again. Let's talk about farming and agriculture sector. So this is one of the instrument. What it does, you put it in a farm. It collects the temperature, the humidity, the wind speed, the rain, the sun that day, and also there is a sensor which get attached to one of the leaves. So it's getting the data about the leaf as well. So let's say we implemented this in some of the vineyards in California, and all of this data, a farmer or even an engineer wouldn't know what to do with it until now. But now with the AI, these IoT devices are basically just data collection devices. They send all of this data to a central cloud, which is like the brain, and that AI, the machine learning algorithm, knows what to do with it, right? Before this IoT and AI, the decisions about pesticides, decision about irrigation, decisions about crop yield were done on a macro level, on hectare level, on acre level, on the city of Napa or Dallas, on that level. But now we can look at microclimate in that particular farm, in that particular soil, what is going on, and all this data gets fed every few minutes to the central processing unit, and that unit using the best AI algorithm. So imagine having the smartest agriculture scientists working for every farmer in our country. That's what we're getting. So on their mobile app, they're getting sorry, it's a little bit hard to read here, but you can see the notifications, like whether the plant needs water, whether there is a humidity issue, whether they need pesticides, there is a time to spray the pesticide. How are the leaves doing? Are they on track to the growth they should be having in that particular month? because you are looking, the sensor is in the leaf. So when the leaf was small 2 months ago and now a little bit bigger and bigger, it's tracking that progress, and it knows how much time has passed because all the data is getting collected on the cloud about that plant, about your plant in your farm. So agriculture, there is a huge opportunity to increase the yield by at least 20-25% using these methods. And we are seeing those kind of results, maybe even more in some of the places who have successfully implemented this. We'll turn to the healthcare. I started with my story in Africa about healthcare. Diabetes and diabetic retinopathy is because of this disease, diabetic retinopathy, about 5 million people go blind fully or partially in around the world. And unfortunate thing is, this is completely preventable, right? But the thing is, if you don't get diagnosed early on before your retinas are damaged, if you pass that stage and then you diagnose this, there's nothing you can do. It's irreversible damage. No doctor in the world can save you. But if it gets diagnosed earlier on with a simple mobile app and with a simple medication and a course, medicine course, it's completely preventable. And diabetes around the globe has been on rise due to the our lifestyle and various other things. And what you're seeing here is a simple device which is capturing the retina image, and this mobile phone has been equipped with the image processing algorithm which can give the probability and the stage of DR you are at. And it's available, it's been deployed in many places, and it can really save the lives without every person have to go to ophthalmologist for every eye exam. So these are some of the ways the healthcare, the public health department can really bring in AI and reduce the load on the system, hopefully make our healthcare more affordable, more accessible in the US and in the Canada, in North America region. And I mean, that's a basic right, and that's one of the biggest challenge. There are hundreds of diseases like this, from COVID to DR, to lung cancer, to breast cancer, skin diseases. A lot of those could be now diagnosed. At least the first diagnosis can be done through a simple mobile app, through a simple machine learning algorithm. Now it's up to us in the technology field, in the public sector field. How do we take these technology, these innovations, and take it to the last mile, right? The poorest of the poor, the remotest of the remote area, the in the countries or the states we work in. We all been through COVID, and we saw what havoc outbreak can do. But by the time CDC knows about the outbreak, it's too late. You know, the the labs will collect the data, and then there will be pattern form in Washington DC or wherever. It's too late. But we can use social media, the news, that data every day, collect that and let AI algorithm figure out if there is a potential of outbreak, a future outbreak, whether it's COVID or flu or whatnot. So this is another innovative application, really inspired by what happened in COVID. And AI can do a really good job helping CDC and other health departments get ahead of what's going on and stop the spread. Again, continuing with healthcare, it can do triaging, patient triaging. Not every patient has to see a MD right away. Or you see, a lot of the patient who really, really need help don't get the help because there is so much work out there and there's so much shortage and there's such a big cost. But with AI, with a simple chatbot or with a filling of an application form, patient information form, their history, AI can really help reduce the workload on the medical staff, and that will hopefully reduce the cost and increase the accessibility for all of us. Uh, Women's safety, child safety has been a huge issue. By the time the women are in distress and they're able to pick up the phone, it's too late. Many times they're not able to have access to the phone in the dangerous situation. So there are technologies nowadays who can look at your body language and say whether this particular child or woman is at distress, and give the control center indication of a probability that there is something going on. Of course, sometimes there are false alarms, but still there are a lot of there. This is the only way, right, to be able to save somebody in that particular situation, because if the woman or child is in danger, obviously they don't have a way right away to call the phone, and only thing what we can do before they can, if somebody can reach there, is through what's going on in that situation, whether it's on the metro stations, bus stations, or in the alley, in poor part of the downtown or whatnot. So this is one of the ways increase the public safety. In finance, check fraud is a big issue. It's time consuming. It's risky. Millions of dollars are lost in check fraud. So AI can really help us here to save the money and save us from cybersecurity or check fraud or financial frauds. I'm going to skip some of this for the time. Let's talk about AI governance, right? So once you expand, you need to be able to govern the data. So you really need to have in your agency AI governance framework. And these are the attributes we have identified as some of the parameters in your framework you need to have to be able to have the fairness, right? One of the issues with generative AI is, can we trust this diagnosis? Can we trust the credit score or a score it's giving to a essay? Can we trust its prediction? So that all of that trust issues need to be talked about, and there needs to be transparency, there needs to be responsibility, there needs to be fairness and consistency, and this has to be part of your governing framework. This itself is a talk in itself, so I'm kind of shortcutting it in a couple of minutes. But just because there are risks, there are unknowns, let's say not risks but unknowns, a lot of agencies are afraid of bringing generative AI. I am of the opinion, and I have deployed hundreds of these applications in the last 3 years, I'm of the opinion that the benefit outweighs the risk in a huge proportion. But the risk can be mitigated, but the risk is there. But it can be mitigated if there is a proper governance framework, and it is possible. And those are one of the things we do with the AI Navigator framework. The sixth step in that framework is AI governance. So before even you go on a pilot, before you share your data or experiment with things, you have the understanding of the entire framework. That's why you start with education and end with AI governance. A lot of the misconceptions about AI and Gen AI is because of lack of understanding of how large language model, the LLM, work, how the data gets trained, how the prediction algorithm works. And if you do the right foundation with education, then governance becomes easier. So you kind of have to go to the entire process to be able to have the handle over this entire framework, right? So it's just like an aeroplane, right? There's a risk of being in the air, and from 1940 to now, we have come a long way in aviation, and we are able to have the luxury to travel the globe in matter of hours, because we took the risk, put the compliance, put the framework around it, put the checks and balances, improve the technology, and so that's with every technology. We have to understand the risk and put a framework around mitigating, limiting, containerizing that risk. So some of the challenges, right, needs to be talked out upfront, and that's why those kind of workshops I mentioned, which we take, Paradiso takes your leaders in one room for a day or 2 days and talk through all of these, because everybody has different notion, different concerns about AI, and unless everybody comes on the same page, it's very hard to make the kind of impact AI could have. Ethical and bias concerns are there. Those had to be mitigated with the right amount of data. So if your data is dirty, if your data is impure or biased, obviously your outcome is going to be biased. That happens with humans as well as with AI. So this can be mitigated with enough testing and proper data. Data quality and availability, you may have to be creative many times to how do you collect the data. A lot of the data is not in a clean format. You have to, what we call in engineering, massage it. You have to clean it up, and there are tools out there. And a lot of the companies, agencies who haven't done this kind of projects on a large scale, and not many companies have done it because this whole thing is so new, they don't understand the kind of gold mine of the data they're sitting on. How it happens many times. The amount of data they have, they just don't see it, or even if they see the data, they don't know how to remove the noise from the signal from the data. There's a huge problem with skill gaps. Change management is a big issue, because the AI technology is such a innovative technology. It has such a widespread impact that you will unless you reconfigure your processes, and I'm going to talk about it in the next slide, it's very difficult to get the benefit out of it. So change management, regulatory framework, that's an ongoing issue. Public trust and acceptance, these are some of the challenges you need to face. So what we have done is to deploy this. What people end up doing is they have the great AI, they get some vendor, they get the AI technology, but unless you are able to change your processes, how you handle the data, the healthcare insurance, the grant example I gave, they not only have to bring the AI algorithm, they had to reconfigure their processes or approval processes, the exception processes, the audit process. And unless you do that, unless the process, people, and context go along with the technology, it's like a one-legged stool. It's going to fall. Technology is just one leg. You need a navigator framework. You need a team. You need some consulting or guidance from inside or from outside who will help you reconfigure your processes. All of a sudden, if AI is doing interviews or AI is doing document processing, then what happens to your existing processes, which has been running for 20 years? How do we reconfigure those processes? And unless you're willing to touch those approval processes, you're not going to get the benefit. The people, right? How do you get people on board? How do you remove the fear from them about job loss? How do you upskill them? And the context. A technology in one particular field, one particular region, one particular agency will not work in others. So the context becomes hugely important. And that's why you need this holistic approach when you deploy AI. So now I want to leave some time for question and answers. If you have some questions, put it in the chat, and we'll go through those.
That was very good insights, such. I think we do have a few questions here. Sorry. Um, let's see. Okay, we have a question from Matt. Can you recommend specific tools or framework that provide quantifiable explainability matrix? How can these matrices be integrated into procurement criteria to ensure transparency? We do see a lot of questions around fairness and transparency when it comes to AI.
Yeah, and I mean the challenge is a lot of these. I mean a lot of these. The AI explosion is so new, and most of the programs are in pilot stage. So we do not have a lot of data in terms of what kind of results you'll get, what is the sensitivity, what is the accuracy of a lot of these systems, and also it's depends a lot on what you're feeding in. It's like garbage in, garbage out kind of thing, right? So the data you're feeding in, your agency, what kind of privacy constraints you have, what you can feed, what you cannot feed, what you can train on, what you cannot train on. So the algorithm is one part, the vendor is another part, but a lot of these depends on the data. So the best option we have seen so far is to go through the whole process and do the pilots, do the benchmarking for your particular case. Like before AI, what was your accuracy, what was your sensitivity level, what is it after AI, and kind of walk through that.
And another question here, can we restrict data to our organization data instead of all the internet for our chatbots?
Absolutely, right. So this is a very common question. So there are multiple ways you can use a commercial LLM. LLM is the large language model like OpenAI, Gemini, Cloud from Anthropic, and you could fine tune it, or you can create an embedding with just your data and have it restricted so that if the chatbot doesn't know answer, it will not go out on internet and hallucinate. It will
Got it.
only look at for answers within your data. And a lot of times customers ask me, what if I give this data to OpenAI? I don't want to give the data on the cloud. So what you can do is there are a lot of open source LLMs which you can be deployed on your data center, and you put your data in that and restrict it for just your particular data for the chatbot support.
Okay. And taking a step back from there, Sachin, I think if we look at the basics, there are a lot of public sector professionals who are just scratching the surface. And since ChatGPT and Perplexity kind of software and applications tools became so famous, everybody is looking at, okay, if we have to implement AI, it means that we have to implement ChatGPT somehow in our ecosystem. So to your answer to the chatbot question, it's not that it's not necessary to have one of these tools in place when you're implementing in-house chatbots to support. How do you see, organization going about it when they don't want to use any of the LLM model, but create something of their own that can, search the in-house database or in-house, applications and data lakehouse, for example, if they have any, to be able to provide that answer.
Absolutely. So, with your existing vendors, like whether it's Snowflake you're using or using Salesforce or SAP, a lot of them have built the tools which are looking into your SAP, your SAP, your Salesforce data, your data lakes, right? And if you don't have that, if you have any kind of media, whether it's text, audio, video, and you put it in Llama, this is one of the open source model by Meta, by Facebook, and in 2 to 3 months you will be able to create your own knowledge base, and which has all the answers. We did this with one of the legal agencies for one of the states, and they have literally thousands and thousands of documents on previous cases, on policies, on the laws, and the chatbot is able to be their legal assistant. So what used to take hours and days to figure out one particular clause in a 100-page contract, now they're able to just ask that, what they call Guru. They named it Guru, and Guru just gives them that answer in minutes. And all of this is within their firewall. None of the data has gone outside to anybody.
Nice. That makes sense. And I think on the Canadian side of the border, we have seen a very interesting use case or failure of chatbot. For example, where somebody was trying to talk about a refund cancellation of the tickets for the Air Canada, and the chatbot, since the Air Canada didn't have that refund policy explained to the chatbot or reference to the chatbot, or maybe didn't have the enough context, the chatbot actually went out and created a refund policy of its own when it was asked a question. So how do you avoid that kind of situation where AI is not becoming smarter than you want it to be, right?
Right. So, I mean, that particular thing, I would call it like a glitch, a bug, right? Every software has a bug. And see, every technology has a risk, right? Whether it's guns or it's computer.
Yep.
Computer can bring viruses and steal all your money from your bank account, right? That doesn't mean we don't use computers.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a long answer. That's a very specific case, but it is a valid case. It is a risk. Thorough testing, maturity of these models, and constant monitoring and auditing. That's the only way. They are not going to be perfect. Neither are humans. Humans are not
Yep.
perfect. Neither is going to be your AI agent. So you build a governance framework. That's why I emphasize so much on the governing framework. How do you govern what's going on out there?
And I have another question from the audience here. Will our data be shared with LLM if we use OpenAI or some other cloud service? I think you did cover that before, but anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, your particular data is not going to be used for training OpenAI unless you exclusively give that permission. And OpenAI now has an enterprise license, that has more controls. So most of the public agency, if they want to do OpenAI, they should be looking at the enterprise license and restrict it there if they don't want to have their own private LLM hosted on data center.
Okay. And one last question. Have you seen any uses of Gen AI in the mental health space?
Absolutely. So mental health crisis, it's all over the globe, from Middle East to US to India. And I think that's one of the areas where interactive chatbot has been deployed very successfully. Many universities are using it to triage emergency 911 kind of situation versus regular depression versus a concern or a worry. So this chatbot can act like a buddy. They can look at the signals where the situation is going more towards the red, alert the therapist, and really make mental health professionals, the mental health service, more accessible. It's not possible for a college going student to go to a therapist all the time, or he's busy, or he doesn't even know. But some of these gamified versions of chatbots or therapies, they are really making an impact there.
It's great. It's great. I don't see any more questions from the audience here. But trying to understand such, in your experience working with government organization, what would be, and again, I'm going back to the basics, that there are a lot of, technicalities to it when we implement AI, but again, a lot of public sector audience would like to see where to start if they're looking at one area to implement AI. How would you recommend going about finding that business processes or business case where you can think of implementing AI? Do you recommend some sort of assessment, proof of concept, anything as such?
Right. So the easiest way to think about it, because public sector and policies, all of that comes with a lot of guardrails, right? That's
Yeah.
the risk. They're very, so what you do is use Copilot. Think about how can, whatever I'm doing, how can it do my job easier, faster, quicker, and I will audit it. I'll be the supervisor.
Yeah.
So knowledge bases is a great way to start. Document processing is another great way to start extracting data, processing images. In radiology, I gave you example. So more Copilot use case as opposed to Air Canada, where it was more of a chatbot directly facing the customer. So if this chatbot was helping their support agent, right, to get answers or help them, that's how I encourage people to get started.
Like human in the loop. That's something which we have heard before also, and our next session is gonna cover that as well. Like not alone AI, but you have to bring human in the loop to make sure that it's accountable, right? Oh, perfect. Well, any lasting any last thoughts that you want to share with our audience?
Absolutely. So it's exciting world out there. It's going to become one of the greatest invention humans have. So go out there, learn about it. Don't be afraid of the technology. And Paradiso Software, if you visit our website, www.paradisosoftware, we are there to help. I'm happy to just brainstorm, talk about it. My email is sach@paradisosoftware.com. And I hope you explore the AI world. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, it was great having you here, Sach. We look forward to working with you again, and appreciate your time today with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.